The reason being, I knew what to do for the drummer. Now, understand this. A drummer can overpower a jazz tap percussionist. That's what I am. That's a dancer who improvises like a jazz musician and taps like a jazz drummer. Now, when the drummer hears the rhythms that I'm doing with my feet, and if they're similar to what he plays, he will stay under me and he will not overpower me. When the number was completed, the people were on their feet, screaming for more. And I wouldn't go back. So now get this. Charlie asked me to come back to the stage and say a few words. I did it. I went back. I said, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have an opportunity to work with one of the jazz legends of the 20th century, Charlie Parker. And I want you to know that I thank you very much. I took a bow and I left. So as I was going out the door, Jimbo asked me for my telephone number in Sacramento, and I gave it to him. He said, you were terrific tonight, Ardie. I said, thank you very much. So I'm driving back to Sacramento just full of joy. Man, I danced with Charlie Parker. How about that? I'm going to tell my parents and everybody about this. A couple of days later, I received a telephone call from Louis Landry. He was the owner of the New Orleans Swing Club. He said, Ardie, I had some of my friends that tell me that you were pretty good with your bebop dancing. He said, I have 2 weeks open. Would you like to come and work for me? Would you consider that? I said, certainly. He said, well, when can you come? I said, right away. I'm not going to fool around with that. I'm going, George. I got to get there. So I opened at his club. Now, when I opened at his club, the first night, I was dancing on the floor. And I noticed people had a problem seeing my full figure because I'm 5'4". So I... Did you set that up? So I had an idea. I said, I'm 5'4". See what I mean? If I'm in here like this, you would have a problem seeing my full figure, right? So I had this idea. So I finished my gig that night. Next day, I went and found a handyman, and his name was Jake. And I told him about my situation. I told him I had an idea about elevating myself so everybody could see my full figure. He got a large piece of paper. He told me to stand in the middle of it. And I did. Can you see me now? This is how this was created. Now, the man that I'm going to show you is a man I idolize, a man that I learned a lot from, a man that saw me dance, and when he saw me dance, he told me, Ardie, you are the first bebop dancer I have ever seen, and your feet and ankles are educated. That was my BA, my MA, and my PhD. At this time, I would like to play a DVD for you to understand what I'm talking about this man. This man is the one that taught Shirley Temple how to dance. You will also see another great act Buck and Bubbles. And you will also see Fred Astaire and Eleanor Powell. Please play the DVD. I want you to listen to what he's saying. One more time.
But in a last-moment decision, the studio inexplicably cut his part from the film, and this rare footage was locked away in the studio vaults, never to be seen.
This next number that he's going to perform, he made history with.
It was the 1930s, and motion pictures had replaced vaudeville as the nation's #1 form of entertainment. Bill Robinson made the step up to movies with a starring role in Harlem is Heaven, an all-black film made for black audiences. But he wanted to work in mainstream Hollywood, even though it had little to offer black actors. In his only studio picture, the 1930 RKO musical, Dixiana, he had been relegated to a brief dance number. But he was determined to make it in the big time. And in 1934, when he was offered a role in a major motion picture, he was off to Hollywood.
Bill Robinson did not use metal plates on his shoes. This is what he had on his shoes. Split soles, wooden soles. Number 2, the stair dance that you saw, that was created when he worked at the Palace Theater in New York City. He saw some friends of his sitting in the audience, and there were 2 staircases there in the theater. He saw his friends, and he wanted to go down and say hello to them, so he danced down the right staircase and went over and said hello, and then he went back and he danced on the left side, and he went up, and the audience, they loved it. So he knew where he was playing. In some theaters, they didn't have staircases, so that's why he had, his portable staircase. One more thing. In the early 20s, there was a rule for African Americans that was devastating. The rule was called the 2-colored rule. The definition, it took 2 African Americans to compete with 1 white tap dancer. When Bill Robinson performed his solo act at the Palace Theater, with his stair dance, he broke that rule. And he made it possible for a young dancer like me to step through that door. He was a very nice man. When I met him, he talked to me with passion. He told me, Ardie, I want you to live a clean life, stay out of trouble, because someday you may have to carry on this American art form, tap. I promised him that I would.
Chuck got from Bubbles the technique and the know-how that Bubbles used to execute.
Pat
Have you got any castles you want me to build, Bucky boy? Have you got any dragons you want to have killed, Bucky boy? I'll get into the 7-legged boots. I'll get into my bulletproof suits.
Bubbles had such a way of doing the step that they called him the father of rhythm. And that's what we all try to pattern after, that close rhythm. It's like blending music with your dancing.
Tell all the papers you did it because I love you.
This lady here, I want you to tell me if you know who this lady is. She was 26 years old when this was filmed. Play the DVD.
I may not be so very smart as far as books are concerned. Where I leave off, most people start. But here's what I've just learned.